Hey crypto gang, Nanicrypto back to you today with another tutorial video. So we've been in the crypto market almost just a little over a year now and crypto trading. Back in October last year we did a Tradingview tutorial which we've had quite a few views on. A lot of people have been commenting on it, and obviously back then there was a lot of things that I didn't know and a lot of tips and tricks that I wasn't really using. So I thought I'd run a second part of this Tradingview tutorial. If you are new to the channel, thank you so much for watching. I invite you to subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, and this is going to be a really good one, guys. Make sure you watch till the end, and we're going to have some really nice tricks that I haven't really seen in a lot of videos, but I think it's really going to help you to learn how to use Tradingview a little bit more, so you can become more confident with the tool, and also some tricks on how to use the boss method and how to choose the best coin, which is a bit of a tricky one when you're trying to decide amongst a couple of coins. So we are quickly going to jump straight into the charts. Bitcoin today is sitting at about 62.59 at the moment. Yes, it's been a harsh market, but I think the important thing to remember is that everything that goes up must go down, and there's also a reversal, which we're all waiting for, and hopefully that will happen soon. But in the meantime, I think it's important to make sure we know how to use our tools, that we become confident using them, and that we aren't missing out on any important trades because maybe we don't have it set up or we're not using everything that we can. So I've created a quick list here that we're going to run through today. We're going to look at a couple of really basic things that we didn't look at in our previous video. If you are new to the channel, I will add the Tradingview tutorial part 1 to the description if you're interested in watching it. So we're going to turn on the countdown, which I think is really important when you're running, if you're using the boss method on the 4-hour charts or the 1-hour chart. So sometimes it's important to know when that candle is going to turn over. We've got how to reset our charts, quick way to check the profits and losses, a couple of really handy tools that we haven't spoken about before, the head and shoulders, the sign line, which I've been asked quite a bit about, the horizontal array, which we can use for supports and resistance. Have spoken about those a little bit, so we're just going to touch on those again. How to use the different layers within the tool, how to clear your charts, how to create your watch list, flag coins, trading that you're interested in trading, and also how to look at the Tradingview technical analysis that is set up for you. Also got a couple more tips for you. One of those is going to really help you how to use the, we already know the boss method, but it's going to really help you to, use that in a couple of different time frames. And that's going to be a really nice tool to give you guys an overview of and how we can choose the best trade when we're trying to decide between a couple coins, and make sure you stick around for those really great tips. Okay, so without further ado, let's start going through our list. I'm going to turn on the countdown. So on a daily chart, up here we have our time frames, and I've currently set Bitcoin to the daily, and I usually watch Bitcoin on the daily. But if you're using the boss method, you'll be running on either a 4-hour chart or a 1-hour chart if you're using the free account, or a 77-minute or a 343 if you're using the pro accounts. So as you can see here on the right hand side, I've set up the countdown. Now the countdown is just this tick bar over here. So you can either turn it off or you can click and turn it back on again. And the really important reason we use that is because if we are waiting, sometimes when you are trading, you will say, I will buy if the next candle closes above a certain resistance, or before it hits a certain support. So when we're doing that, this will allow us to keep a track on it. Now just keep in mind that it will work for anything under the daily. Anything on top of the daily, it won't actually show you that, but really nice tool to have when you're looking at things like that. The next one that we have is the auto reset button. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever been in a situation when you're looking at a chart and it's for some reason it's just gone out of whack and you're trying to get it back. And I've got a pretty big screen, but you may have a really small screen and you can't get back into it. So it's a neat tool that I've discovered recently. I wasn't using it before. There's an auto scale button here in TradingView. What it does, it just brings it back so you can look at it properly. Don't forget that we can also move if you're holding on to the dates or holding on to the prices on the right. Then you can also obviously make that easier. But that auto rescale button is really good for you, especially when you're looking at different coins, and if they're set up at different prices, sometimes they get a bit hard. So there I've just turned mine on. So if I were to move to another coin, it just automatically turns, sets the best scale for me so I can view my coin properly. Next, quick way to check a profit and loss. Okay, so let's look at a coin that is doing quite well at the moment. We've got QVT, which is Genesis. For all of those guys who follow me on Twitter, I did a good post about Genesis today. And we'll go over this in a second, but Genesis has been doing quite well, and for those following the boss method, it's doing extremely well. So when we're looking at Genesis, did I forget? Yes, I forgot. Quick way to check profit and loss. Right. Okay. So as we know, we use the 7 and the 77 to determine when our entry is. So let's just say we've been waiting for the 77 to clear and we entered the trade. So here would have been our crossover, 7 over 77. And so there's a really cool tool which is, so you can use the ruler on this side, or if you don't want to do that, if you hold down the shift button and click where you're interested in starting your your profit check or your measure as they call it, we can see that we would have made a 55% profit. So I had been keeping an eye on this one, lost track of it, didn't discover it till a couple of days ago, but thought it was too oversold. If you look here on the 4-hour chart, we can see that it's gone quite high. But I have a feeling this might be one of those buy the rumor, sell the news kind of coins. So I've jumped into this one. So hopefully we can see some nice profits in GBT. So that's how we set up the ruler. So either click over here or click your ship. And keep in mind that this tool doesn't keep it. Once you've clicked elsewhere, it will get removed. So if you wanted to use it permanently to stay in your chart, then you'd use the date range, and that will stay there if you wanted to like grab screenshots or something like that. Okay, next up we have our head and shoulders. Just trying to think of a chart that we've used with some nice head and shoulders action. I think BTC had some, it's not a USD, it's my Coinbase. Sorry, wrong chart. Guys, and please remember just to hit that thumbs up if you enjoy the content and if you find this information useful. So I might just click back on this one. Okay. So the head and shoulders is one of those indicators that we use when we feel so you've got your top head and shoulders, which if the head and shoulders, so I'll just quickly give you an example. Believe it or not, I can't find one. Actually, here's one right here. Just going to bring that up a little bit so I can. That's the only bad thing. If you've ever got the auto scale on, you might find it a bit hard to move. So I'm just going to turn it off. Here's a really good example. Okay, so the head and shoulders. So the tool is right here, and it's just this head and shoulders here. So when do we use the head and shoulders? So here we have, now this is an inverse head and shoulders. And we're going to go from here to here, which is the head. And he will automatically show you, you need to take off for the next one. And there we go. So again, I'm running this on the daily. Now, really important thing to note with your head and shoulder indicators, if the head and shoulder is upside down like this, it's actually a bullish indicator. And I'll quickly run through how we obviously saw this head and shoulders play out. And then if you've got a head and shoulders playing on the upside, then it would be a bearish indicator and it's going to keep on going down. So once you see that left shoulder forming on your head and shoulders on the upside, so if you turn around the head and shoulders, it's a bearish indicator and it means it's going to keep on going down. So one of the things I like to do once I draw my, if I wanted to know how high this was going to go, then the rule of thumb is if you grab, I'm just going to draw a trend line from here to here. So that's what they call the neckline. I'll try and make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see that properly. So I've grabbed it from the tip of the head to the neckline. Then in theory what they say is if it completes, then I should be able to grab that same one, and once it clears the head, the neckline, then that's what I'd expect that profit to do. And if we look at how much that actually was, that was a nice 15% rise. So if I was trading, well, Bitcoin, as we know, is quite different, but if I was trading this coin, then I would have probably taken those profits probably just around this area, just because there's a bit of resistance there, and then I probably wouldn't have waited for it to go. But if I had bought all the way down here, just as I saw that second, I guess that right shoulder forming, and if we use our ruler, it's just I would have bought here, then that would have been a nice 25% profit using that head and shoulders. So that's a really useful tool, the head and shoulders, that we can use if we're trying to determine just different patterns within the charts. Okay, I'm going to turn that off for now because obviously that's in the past and not relevant at the moment. What else do we have? The sign line. Okay, now the sign line's a bit of a tricky one. I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. I don't use it that often, but I have seen it used before, so I thought I'd touch on it as a few people have asked me about it on the different trading videos. I think I was using, yes, Dodge. You guys have been watching the crypto space, so I've just been doing ridiculously well. Okay, so the SIN, it's probably not called SIN, it's probably called sign line, is a line that's used to determine the different waves. And one of the things that you will learn when you're doing charting is that you need to look at the different waves, the different energy within a chart. Okay, so what we do is we can grab our sign line, which is also down here in our patterns, and basically you draw a line. So a lot of people say, where do I know exactly where the line is? It definitely depends on what method you're using. So I use the boss method, and I kind of try and find, my bottom was around here. So I'm using the 77 here to set up my line. There we go. And that's how I would draw it. So basically it shows you based on, and I'll show you how it lines up behind us. But if I set up that line, then it's telling me, okay, so this was our pattern. Now, if you were using the sign line to trade, Then once this line crossed, probably around here, I'm just going to quickly check how much that drop was. Okay, so it was quite significant, it was 39%. So you would have bought here and then sold as a crossover, but let's just say you bought here. So the line gives you the rough estimate of where it's going to go up. Then you would have bought here and made 458%, which is crazy. But I guess the idea of the sideline is just to show you the energy. Here we can see there's a low, we're coming up with a high again. Again, there's a low, so this is the low. And right here, it's almost like it's completely aligned. Just before that spike happened, that spike actually occurred about 10 days ago, 12 days ago. It would have been a great opportunity to jump in again. Now, is it going to keep on going up? I personally haven't jumped into this trade because I feel it was just going too quickly and I wasn't in the trade when it started spiking. However, we can see, and we'll jump into looking at this horizontal raise next. You've got a bit of resistance there, so whether it actually, that resistance was created 248 days ago. Okay, so it could resist and go through it. Just depends on whether it does or it doesn't. You can definitely check out our Fibonacci. Our Fibonacci videos would probably help you to determine if that's as a resistance point as well. Maybe it's reaching one of those important crossover lines on the Fibonacci as well. However, if I go back, look at that. It's actually really amazing. Look at that. If I draw, this is where it crossed. Wow. So obviously it's going down there. This is where it crossed. So it's amazing because it's actually really aligned with even though our boss method is a 4-hour, this one's actually, wow, really spot on. I think I've seen this one before. Again, white's crossing over the blue. It's on our way up again. Now, is it absolutely no? If I was going to draw, one scenario where it didn't, like right here, it didn't do anything. But then again, the white didn't cross above the blue either, so I wouldn't have bought in. If we check our odds on how many times there's been a crossover and a significant spike using Dodge, God, I wish I would have seen this before. I would have bought in the last time. Look at that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 waves going back to September 2014. And out of those 7 waves, only once it didn't spike. And the time that it didn't spike was because it hadn't crossed over. So it looks to me like Dodge is one that definitely follows the pattern and the energy in the chart. Great to know. I'm definitely going to keep those lines and keep those patterns on just so I can leave it on. Maybe I can catch the next spike. We'll see. They are quite far between, but I'm happy. I think Dodge is probably going to do some really great things. It's currently worth 103 satoshis. I think it's got a lot of potential left, which is a good thing. Okay, next one. So that's head and shoulders. Okay. So we're just going to quickly just run over the horizontal ray again. So the really good thing about the horizontal ray is if you use things like trend lines, obviously they're quite good as well. And if you hold your shift key, it actually gives you straight lines. So they're good, but it doesn't give you a price. You won't know what that price is unless you stand on top of it. And the other one is there's a horizontal line. Again, I can draw a horizontal line there, and that gives me the price, but then that's normally going all the way back. So the reason I like to use the horizontal lines is I'm basically using for the support and resistance that I have had in the past. So if I just draw that down to where my body, the candles end, then we can see we've got a pretty strong resistance there, and it may, it still has potential to go through that. We've seen Dodge it up to 170, so it could, even if we go back to this one, potential of 80%. But yeah, if you're in Dodge, congratulations. If you're not, I'd definitely be careful. It's gone quite high over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, so that's how we use the horizontal line, just to help us determine supports and resistances for our different charts. Remove specific lines with layers and remove all drawing tools. Okay, so actually I don't want to touch this chart. Let's see if I've got anything on Dash. Yeah, Dash keeps trying, and it was doing really well, and it's now deciding to pull back. Still holding that trend line. Sorry, sidetrack. Back to what we were talking about. Okay, so sometimes you can be drawing like different things on a chart. Let's just say I'm keeping an eye out for the crossovers. Let's just say I've drawn down here a bit of a trend line, thinking, oh, maybe this will hold, and if it holds, then it's definitely something. Let's just say we're using the tails, not the bodies. And then you've maybe been explaining something to someone, and you've gone and drawn a few things, and this is important, and look at that, this is going down, and so is that, and so is that. Okay, so you've basically got a chart full of lines. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can clear those lines. If you just want to quickly get rid of them and just not see them, you can use the eye, and that's how we hide all our drawing tools. The other really cool way is you can go into the layers, which is just this show object tree here. And when you click on that, you can actually get rid of. So let's just say I don't want to get rid of everything. I just want to either hide, as you can see that top orange line's disappeared, or I just want to get rid of the brushes, because I think the lines are quite important. Yeah, so that's how we would use the actual different layers. Or then you can obviously use the bin, and the bin will get rid of everything. So it removes all your tools at all. Now you can't use Control Z when you do that. It's a shame. I might just quickly draw back in my horizontal line. I think it was around there. Actually, that's probably interesting if I bring this chart down. Yes, I know, guys, sidetrack for a sec. If I bring this line down and set up that trend line, as long as that trend line holds, ooh, it's cutting it fine. Also about to cross under 231. I don't know. This is quite a big dip, so don't know if it will hold. It's trying to. Don't know if it will. But anyway, that's how we can just manipulate the different drawing tools and remove or hide different things that we are looking at. Watch list, flagging your own coins. Okay, so as you can see on the right hand side now, if you are new to Tradingview, when you first come in here, you would have seen a whole number of different tools, sorry, not tools, different pairs that you may not be interested in. Like you can find like Apple stocks and Facebook stocks and all that kind of jazz, which is what we are particularly interested in the crypto world. So what you can actually do is you can, by typing in here, trying to think of one that I don't have. Of course I can't think of one. Let's quickly jump into CoinMarketCap. We'll just try and find a coin that we don't have set up. Probably got all of them. Don't think I've got Bitcoin Cash. Let's see if I've got Bitcoin Cash. Yes, of course I do. Cardano, no, Tron, Dodge, Tezos. What is Tezos? Tezos. I've never heard of Tezos. Okay, it's number 18. Let's try and see if we can find Tezos then. Tezos. The other thing you've got to keep in mind is you've got to make sure that um, your coin actually, your exchange, sorry, exists. So right now I know there's Bittrex, there's Binance, there's Polynex, there's Bitflyer, HitBTC, Coinbase, BitMEX is in there, but obviously there's like things like KuCoin. I know it doesn't show up in here, so you've got to keep that into account. Where I'm still trying to find one. Problem is I've actually got most of these coins already set up. Let's go Lisk. A Steam Verge. Bytom. I wonder what Bytom is. That might be a Binance coin. Of course, there'd come a time that I can't find a coin. Komodo. I don't think I've got Komodo, and if I do, I'm just gonna. Okay, so KMD for Komodo. So the other thing is you can actually keep track on different, whether you want to keep track on the BTC pair or keep a track on the Ethereum pair, or whether you want to keep track of Bittrex or Binance. So let's just say I click on Bittrex and it's automatically going to get added to the bottom of my list. So this is just my, I guess, my everyday list, and I basically come in here and go through these coins that I'm either interested on or heard something about or are currently holding or am interested in, interested in maybe it doing really well based on what I've heard about it. So that's just a straight list. Now let's just say you wanted to create a new list. Let's just say I create a new list called top 5 Binance. I'm just using it as an example. Let's just say I want to use, so if I go back to my watch list, which was the one we set up, let's just say I'm really interested in vets. And if you right click, you can actually create a new list with that one. You can unflag it because mine's currently flagged, right? So there's a few things that we can do with that. But then to actually add it, I need to go back to my top 5 Binance and I go vet and I choose Binance and it's automatically there. Now the reason it's got this little flag is because next to it, you can actually turn on or turn off. Now what I try and do is if I'm flagging a coin, which event is now completely broken. But if I'm flagging a coin, then what I do is I will keep, so I've put that next to it, and that way I don't have to create trade lists. I just go to my flag list. So everything in here is either something I'm watching, holding, think it's going to be doing well, right? And then I usually decide on these coins based on the 77-minute or the 343 based on whether I want to long-term trade or do short-term trading with the different charts. So that's how you flag a coin, that's how you create a watch list, and that's how you can just use the different settings here within our watch list. Trading view technical analysis. So few of you might have, if I just move this up, you'll see that right down here you've got a bit of technical analysis based on Tradingview, I guess, techniques. Here it tells you whether this coin is a buy or a sell. If you click on more, it will actually give you, so right at the top you'll see the different time frames. So if you were holding this coin on a long term, it says it's neutral. If you're looking at the 1 hour chart, so if you're doing 1 hour chart is normally about weekly, I'd say weekly trades, then it's telling you it's definitely a sell. If you're looking at the 4 hours, it's saying the accelerators are neutral. All in all, it shows a sell, but your moving averages is pretty strong. It gives you some more examples down here. So for example, it says your MACD level using the 12 and 27 is a sell. Your RSI is neutral. So it just uses a few different techniques on whether you should buy or sell a coin. The other really cool thing I have found is that it shows you down here the buys and the sells, so you can normally see that within the charts as well. And I basically like to keep it here um, just so I can view, I guess, their perspective on maybe a whole bunch of indicators that I'm not looking at. And then if maybe I'm tossing up whether I should buy or sell something, then I will come in here and check what TradingView's opinion, or probably not opinion, basically what the technical analysis tells us about that coin. Okay, so just before we go over those really important tips that I was talking about at the beginning of the video, I'm going to quickly just jump through a few of our tools that we can use. I've actually gone ahead and created a very new group. It's called Bitcoin New Zealand. I've basically created this for all the people who either are in New Zealand or buy Bitcoin or sell Bitcoin. And the idea is I'm going to create a few videos for you guys about how to buy Bitcoins, how to store them. And this is just a few ways of how I've currently done that. And I couldn't really find a Bitcoin New Zealand group that didn't have a whole bunch of spam and Ponzi scams. So I've decided to do this to help out the Kiwis, which is where I live at the moment. We've also got another great group, which is #1 Bitcoin group in the world. 20, how much do we have at the moment? 22,000 members. It's an awesome group. Doors are open, are always open. There's some great content in here, guys. There's some charts, people who are keeping out on the charts, news that's really important that we're also keeping an eye on. Look, one of the coins we were talking about earlier today, GBT. Cool. And yeah, so it's definitely a great group. You can definitely jump on. We've got a great group of moderators as well, keeping an eye on this group, and always welcome to join us. So come and buy and learn more about crypto. And this one's called the #1 Bitcoin group in the world. We also have our Twitter account, growing more and every day, almost at 2,000 followers. I like to post in here just tips and tricks of things that I can see in the charts. I've gotten some good feedback about things that I look at. Earlier this week we did this one. I had no idea why, even though my lines were there, why I didn't catch it. So we had some great feedback from a few other crypto Twitter members, which was awesome. If I see anything that I feel is going to be useful to you guys, I'll definitely retweet. So that's just Nanicrypto in Twitter. Of course, you're obviously in YouTube, but please remember we've got some great content out there. Things on like how to set up alerts in Tradingview so you don't miss out on trades. We've got our boss method set up, of course. We've got RSI and MACD setups, which are over here. Trend lines, stop losses, buy orders, Ichimoku cloud. So just a few, different indicators that you can use. Here's a Tradingview tutorial I was telling you about earlier, and if you are new to trading and Tradingview, definitely invite you to have a look at that video. We also are offering a one-on-one with Bitcoin. If you're interested in doing a portfolio review, if you want to learn about crypto, if you have questions, if you'd like someone to look at your portfolio, if you have watched one of our videos and have any questions, then there's a one-on-one that you can set up with us. I'll be adding that into the links into the comments so that you guys can schedule some time with us. Okay, so back to the really cool ones. Okay, so let's just say you are running the boss method and you're kind of tossing up. So one of the things that I try and tell people is that we can either use the 1 hour or the 4 hour, but sometimes you need to have the vision of both charts as opposed to having it separate. So what you can actually do is right here next to the BK where I've set up my charts, you can actually select the layout, right? Now if I click on number 2, and it's going to give me 2 identical charts, then what you can actually do is you can run the 4-hour on one chart, so we'll leave the 4-hour there, and then over here we'll run the 1-hour. Now, the reason that's really important is if you're trying to use a boss method and say, okay, I'm interested in the long term, which as you can see right now, but obviously is broken. However, if you're just looking at this coin now, you can see that there may be a potential for some, it might actually go up. So if it goes up, we could see it maybe kind of do this and then go back up again. Obviously, we don't know if it's going to do that, but it's definitely a great way for you to look at a coin, or if you wanted to compare two coins, you could also do that. But I find this way I can look at the chart on the 1-hour and see, okay, maybe it's finding a bottom, but on the 4-hour chart, if I was trading on the 4-hour chart, which is kind of trading on a monthly basis, this is definitely not a buy at the moment. As some people would say, I do not like catching falling knives, especially not a market where Bitcoin's currently sitting at about 62.38 and it's gone down another 30 cents since we've been watching it. So, yeah. So that's a really, really cool, really great tool. Okay. Now here's another one. So I'm going to go back to our single setup. So let's just say, GBT is killing it, my God. Let's hope it continues to run through that resistance we've set up. So let's just say you're looking at two different coins, and this can happen in multiple scenarios. And you might be tossing up between 3 different coins and you really don't know which coins to buy. So I'm just going to try and choose 2 coins that are sitting. Okay, so let's just say QKC and Sky. So number 1, you need to make sure they're both on the same. Okay, QKC, what are you doing? QKC BTC. So this is QKC. So if you were trading on the 1-hour, this is coming up. Hopefully it might have found a bit of a resistance here. It might be turning around, which would be great. Just trying to see. It might have found a bottom there during our last. Okay, so right now I'm thinking, okay, so if I was going to, I could probably continue to watch this coin for a little while, and if it continues to do well, then I can buy in. But I'm going through my portfolio and I find another coin that's also doing well, which is Sky. So what you can actually do is, instead of looking at them separately, if I set up a /Sky BTC, also on Binance, and I press enter, what it's going to say is you've requested an intraday spread symbol that is available only to Pro. So keep in mind, this is only available for Pro, Plus and Premium users. You will now be switched to a daily. Spreads for intraday charts are calculated based on 1-minute bars and then recompiled into the selected interval. The approach is the only correct one but requires significant server power. So, which is fine, I'm not going to upgrade. Now, how do you read this? So what it's basically doing is it's taking all the energy from QKC and it's taking all the energy from Sky and it's putting it into one daily chart. Now, the way you would decide is QKC, so I'm just going to quickly, so QKC currently is the top of this chart. So if this chart was a buy on QKC, we would be seeing something like this. And I'll show you exactly what I mean in a second. So if you were to buy, if you were to open the chart, so the comparison of the chart, and you'd say, I would buy this, then you're going for the top of the chart, which is QKC. Now, if you're looking at the bottom of the chart, which is Sky, then it needs to be a negative chart, which is exactly what we're looking at now. So if I grab my brush, then I'd say, yep, it's 7 under the 77, and if I was looking at this chart on a normal basis, would I buy it? No, because I cannot see it doing any better. So if the chart's going to the top right, you're going for the first coin. If the chart's going to the bottom right, you're going for the second coin. Okay? Now, just to make sure that that makes sense, let's get rid of that. Let's swap them around so you can see what I mean. So we're going to use Sky and QKC. It's already on the daily, so we shouldn't see all those messages we saw before. Here we go. Now, is your chart going into the top right, which it is, then I would buy Sky, which is exactly what we got when we turn them around. Is the chart going into the bottom right? No, it's not. So right now, if I look at those at these two coins, QKC has more positive energy than Sky. Now, just to confirm that, we already saw what QKC's chart looks like, and it definitely looks like it's doing some positive movement on the 1 hour. So let's compare apples and apples. Look at that. So if I was trading on the 1 hour, I would say absolutely. We've got the 7 that's crossed the 77. So we have positive momentum there. We've got the 77, which is turning around and still has some negative energy. But if we can keep this, actually, the other really important thing about this chart is that 7's just about to cross out the 231. So if I was charting on a 1 hour chart, so on a say weekly chart, this would mean it would be a buy. Probably would have been a buy down here, would have made us 11%, would have been a nice trade. The only concern I have right now with this chart, which is probably why I wouldn't buy it, is there's actually quite a bit of resistance here. So there was some resistance here back about 4 or 5 days ago, and then it's hasn't really seemed to cross that line. So what I would probably do is leave that line there on the 77-minute chart, and we'll just use our layers to get rid of all those brushes because I don't want to get rid of my horizontal array. Yep. But definitely if I was to compare the two coins, that would be a buy. As usual, 40 minutes of content. Wow. Anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed the content. The idea of me making these videos is to empower you, to help you guys to learn how to read the different crypto charts. Remember, Bitcoin's obviously will keep the energy of the whole market, moving, unfortunately, either up or down. But in times like this, it's important to learn how to use the different charts, use the different indicators that you have, and just empower yourself. Don't let somebody else do it for you. And really good quote I'm going to leave you with today is, you're going to learn a million things. Then you need to forget them all and focus on one. And that's also really important. You can't use 30, 40 indicators. Use the ones that best suit you. Use the ones that you're more comfortable with. And then, run with those. Once again, guys, thank you so much for following, subscribing. Remember to subscribe if you haven't. Remember to turn on those post notifications if you haven't, to make sure you get a notification when we post our videos. Please remember to thumbs up if you like the comments, like the video, leave any comments if there's anything that you think I can share, if there's anything you don't understand. Look, I'm always looking to make things better and welcome any input that you may have. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great morning, great afternoon, great evening, wherever you are. And as always, happy trading. Bye.